So, if you want to pick it up, give it a nose.
It smells like a pork.
Smells.
No, unfortunately.
Sir Jeff, what did you call this again?
Magic.
Magic. Absolutely brilliant. So, one of the interesting things, Burns was born southeast of Glasgow, so an area called Ayr. But for Scotland's distilleries, they wanted to have a bottle dedicated to Burns. And Arran, which is actually an island that you can see from Arran, was the closest distillery at the time and wanted to say, we're gonna buy the rights to this. So what you're enjoying is a sample of Arran's single malt, the Burns bottle. And this is, I believe it's strictly a bourbon finish, single malt, but at no age statement. So it would have had to at least aged for at least 3 years. But as you can tell, it's like a lot of the other Arran drams, where you got some sugars, you got some maybe like confectionery sugar. And it's just a really smooth, easy drinking drink. And what you're going to notice as well for our lineup, the top row on your sheet, which might actually be hidden behind the glasses there, will give us the order, and we decided to try and rank them based on a combination of ABV and also what we think it would sort of feel like. So we'll be moving our way along, but no doubt Burns, when he was growing up and working in Ayr, he would have been able to look across the water and see the island and be able to appreciate what was over there. The Ayr distillery itself, if you had a chance to, if you're ever going to go over there, it's fantastic. They've got a beautiful range of products. Some of them are unpeated, the majority of them are unpeated, but there are a couple that they have peated. We have the Macri Moor for one of our Halloween specials, and we might be looking at throwing a couple more Arran into the lineup. Does anybody want to comment on sort of what they're tasting or how they're enjoying it so far?
I definitely see ice and sugar.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
The nose to me was like almost arrow bar,
Oh.
but tasting it, it got much grainier.
So like the chocolate arrow bar? Now, I seem to recall this was one of the lighter ABVs, 43%.
Is that usually when you're fruity?
As we said, I mean, people that have been here before, they'll know.
Oh, yeah.
That's light for this way.
So it
Oh, I
is
get that.
pretty
Yeah, I see
light.
that. Yeah.
That's the word.
A little uncharacteristically light.
Yeah.
Drink your whiskey however you want to enjoy it. Right? I don't have any
There you go.
judgment. You want to enjoy it, so enjoy it. You can add a little bit of water, and that might help to open things up and, you know, add a couple more flavors that you weren't able to pick up before. But
It's, I thought it would be a lighter on the nose from the color. Like there's three small. It is pretty light. It is pretty light, but yeah.
Cameron, do you have since you are
Just sniffing.
This is the Epicurean. So if we give it a nose, it's really different. There's some really different kind of fruits. Almost some oils maybe in there. This one does have a little bit more spice to it.
It mellows at a third or fourth sniff, but
Still pretty good.
Yeah.
I like it.
You taste it already?
Yeah.
Oh, I just can't get past the
We forgot about this one. We forgot about this one in the basement, right? Like, musty beans.
Eric, what do you think?
I haven't,
Here,
I
what
like
do
the
you
nose, I haven't tasted it.
okay. Has anybody had a sip? Mike, do you wanna tell
Oh
us?
no, my hand's not up.
Don't put your hand up unless you're gonna volunteer.
Cherry.
Okay.
Cherry on this one?
Oh, really?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't taste like at all. Like,
So the Epicurean, it's a blended malt, and they Douglas Lang does a variety, like the Scotch areas, and this is representative of the lowlands. So what you know that you've got in there is you've got Auchentoshan and Glenkinchie, and you're going to have a blend of a couple of their styles, but this one in particular is named the Glasgow edition, and it was cask strength. Yes, 50.4. Or, no, that's what it says on the bottle.
It says 56. This is the Epicurean?
The Epicurean, yeah.
Yeah, I said, sorry, Epicurean. It says 56.8 on
Oops. That's a typo. It's only 50.4.
here. Okay.
Well, I got my money
So a lot of Burns' work would have involved going back and forth to Glasgow. And one of the, I believe there's actually a pub in Glasgow that is named because they have a record of his visit there. A lot of the travel, a lot of the business was done because Glasgow is one of the major cities, and they would have had a huge amount of traffic because it's also one of the largest ports over in Scotland. But the Epicurean is designed to be more of a refined style of spirit. And usually if you've tried Auchentoshan, it's one of the only triple distilled, and Glenkinchie is also usually fairly light. Mike?
Sorry, Joel and I were talking there. I may have missed this. Is this a blend? Is this Glasgow distillery or something different?
Yeah, it's the Epicurean, so it's a blended malt, and it's blended from the, like it represents the lowlands.
Okay.
There is a regular Epicurean, which is a lower ABV. The Glasgow edition is a cask strength.
I don't think this represents the lowlands. If I
Well-
was the lowlands, I wouldn't take it.
It represents the lowland distilleries.
Yeah.
If anybody's seen in the stores Big Pete,
Have a bottle of that.
that's
Good
their
stuff.
Isla release.
Yeah.
The Scallywag
I have a bottle of
is
that.
one of the ones that represents Speyside.
Yeah.
So,
Nice. I like it.
so it's not jiving with you?
No, I haven't got past the old lady perfume on the nose.
Oh, it's very different on the
It is
taste.
very
And
floral.
when even on the taste, it's still there for me.
Although when I'm
It's
in
like lavender and I don't know what.
when I'm nosing it, I get more like a nougat or maybe marzipan.
Interesting.
What does everybody else enjoy? Or are you sort of not too
I'm
thrilled with
getting
it?
more apricots.
Apricots? So like so stone fruits?
Yeah. Well, I'm adding some water to it, so it changed the nose a lot.
So it
It
opens
changed,
up
yeah, and it changed the mouth.
dramatically?
Can't hurt.
Yeah.
I honestly think so. I could go about 3 or 4 drops with it.
Gives it a bit of a, yeah, because if you're putting a couple drops in, you're gonna drop, pun intended, you're gonna drop the ABV down to around maybe 45 or 40%.
That's a big drop. Yeah, it's definitely a lot. That's the burn.
there's actually a mausoleum in Edinburgh for Burns. It's actually quite a splendid affair because as the national poet of Scotland, he has ranks and honors that are up there with many of the other Scottish inventors and notable public figures. Sir Walter Scott, Maxwell, they've all got various statues, and Burns is no exception. To represent Edinburgh, the North British Distillery produces grain whiskey. So basically, grain whiskey is sort of like anything that is not a Scotch, but has been distilled in Scotland would be considered grain whiskey. And that's kind of a funny way of saying that Scotch is very specific. You have to have malted barley, and it has to be done in a pot still, and then aged for at least a minimum of 3 years in oak barrels. With grain whiskey, they probably are using malted barley, but they're putting it through a coffee still, which will process the liquid faster, but it doesn't actually usually have quite as much character as you would capture in a pot still. The North British is one of the distilleries. I know that there are a couple that are nearby Edinburgh, but this one's what we've chosen as the representative for Burns' resting place. This has got, also, most of these we haven't tried before, so we're trying these all new with everybody, and this is quite a bit of a different nose. There's a little bit more astringency. There's almost like maybe grape skins. Does anybody else that has a refined palate want to make a guess? Oh, okay. So like a white wine?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a skill. Maybe like a Pinot. This one is, I believe, our oldest one. It's at 52.2%, and it was distilled in Edinburgh in 1996. And the age statement, there we go. I thought I had this one. Mike or Joel, do you guys remember how old this one was? I want to. It's over 2 decades. Yeah, well, it's 1996. That's when it was distilled, but I don't know when they actually put it into, like when they poured it from the barrel into a bottle. I'm sorry, I completely blanked on that one. But this one does have a fairly high percentage of maize, which is corn, and also green malt. So they would have used like slightly younger malt to give it a different character and complexion.
27 years.
27, thank you. So this is a 27-year-old grain whiskey, which you can make grain much cheaper than you can make actual single malts. So despite the age, it's not as if you're going to be picking up the 27-year-old Glen Kimchi, which at RLC retails for $500. This was a nice bottle, but not quite that handsome a price.
Who's named Ennius Coffey, who invented column distillation, because he's this old Scottish dude that was tired of watching people, or was he Irish probably, and he was tired of watching people constantly reload the pot stills over and over again and wash them, reload them, and do it in phases. He said we should just be able to distill continuously. So the coffee still he invented, which is the plates and the, you know, the ethanol is rising and the mash is inserted from the top and it falls down. Like that's how they make column stills now. But column stills now can be 8 stories tall. So the coffee still, C-O-F-F-E-Y, coffee stills are much smaller, squat little column stills essentially. And Crown Royal in Gimli has a coffee still. They do the Grand Select actually on there, which is funny. We have a random coffee in the background. I was going to drink this later, but what you've seen in the LC is Nika. The Japanese distillery has the single malt and the single grain and a coffee grain. So they do a coffee still distillation for some of the whiskey that they do. Every coffee still that I drank something out of seems to me to have a lot of chocolate chip, like fresh baked chocolate chip cookie. I don't know why, regardless of what's in there, but coffee stills, they're like a really short column still with more copper. So you get all that kind of copper element, that you get more of that roundness and richness and full-bodied round flavors and palate effect, but with the efficiency of the column still, but in a shorter package. So like at Crown Royal, the main stills are 8 stories tall, like I said, and they're massive, like the size of this freaking living room. Then the coffee still is very, very tiny. It looks like something you'd see at Patent 5. So, there you go.
Yeah, what I'm getting a lot more, what I like to think of are fresh grains or maybe grassy notes.
Yeah.
Something like hay, yeah.
Well, you know, we keep saying there's going to be a club tour. And then you go back one of these years.
I'm going to go back to actually Burns' birthplace. So even though I said, you know, Aaron was the official licensee for a Burns dedicated malt, Lockley Distillery is one of the newer distilleries that's cropped up near Ayr. And they actually have an incredible range of whiskeys. So this one, who can guess what cask this is?
Yeah, I wonder.
I believe that it's a combination. So it's sherry, obviously, but it also has some shaved, toasted, and recharred casks. So it's going to be a little bit more oomph, a little bit more flavor, a little bit more character than the three that we've previously had. And yes, this one is also at 60%. So we're now back into more sort of familiar territory for what we're usually drinking with the nice big high ABV and the big gem drams. You can really tell just right off the nose the amount of sherry that is picked up from those casks and that's just infused into the spirit.
You mean it's not colored? Exactly. This smells really good.
Sherry is there, but it's also like they took like a burnt charred stick and stirred.
Oh, totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Big time.
Is it Jim Swan? Dr. Jim Swan? Yes?
Yeah, Cavalon does it too.
Yeah. There are a couple distilleries that do STR with their barrels, and it really gives it like a completely different light.
Oh yeah.
For those that are aware, I mean, barrels are one of the levers that you can pull that will influence the final spirit. And the Shade Toasted Richard is one of the newer ones. Typically when you're looking at barrels, you're looking at usually bourbon, you know, ex-bourbon, and then they will have first fill bourbon. In other words, nothing else has been in that barrel except for a bourbon spirit. And that's where you will really get some sweet, typically vanilla notes. But then if you get some barrels that have had spirits, like they've gone through a couple of batches, there'll be second fill or refill bourbon. And those are the ones that will tend to mellow out the spirit a bit more because you're not getting as much of the vanilla or the oils and flavors that would have been trapped from the bourbon spirit or that was in the wood initially. We did have, yes, we did have the Jameson, which is a virgin oak. So that means it actually didn't have anything in it prior. Like no first fill bourbon or anything like that. And we'll be getting to that afterwards to see what it's like. Abundama, you take your place, patch, tight or firm. Will you worthy of a grace as long as we are? The groaning trencher there you feel your hurdies like a distant hill. Your pin would make to mend a mill in time of need, and from your pores the dews distill like amber bead. His knife, see rustic later date, and cut you up with ready slate, trenching your gushy entrails bright like holy beach. And then, oh, what a glorious sight, warm, reeking, rich. Then, horn for horn, and on they strive, they'll take the hindmost and on they drive, till all their well-swelled kites belive are bent like drums. And old good men, mans likes to rive, oh, they think it hums. Is there that o'er his French ragout, or Oreo that would sour stew, or fricassee that would make our stew with perfect scunner, looks down with sneering scorn for view on sick of dinner? Poor dear, or his trash, as feckless as a withered rash, his spindle shank a good whiplash, his knee knit through bloody field or field to dash. Oh, how unfit. But mark the rustic haggis bed. The trembling earth resounds his tread. Clapping his wally, give a blade, he'll make it whistle, till legs and arms and heads will sned like taps of thistle. Your powers will make mankind your care, and dish 'em out your bill of fare. Old Scotland wants nae skinking ware that drops and loggies. But if you wish her grateful prayer, gie us a haggis. Not, of course, specifically referred to them, because, I mean, Burns was an 18th century poet, you know, a couple hundred years ago, and some of the distilleries might have been there, some of them were not, obviously, but for our first dram, we're actually going to be taking a look at the Deanston Virgin Oak. Deanston is a small little town, and it's nearby Sheridan, which back in the day was known for the Battle of the Sheriff, which was a large battle between Jacobite forces and forces of the crown. And one of the interesting things about it was everybody lost because both sides charged, they clashed, and each flank fled. So one flank pushed northwards, the other flank pushed southwards, and it ended up being a bit of a wash. But Deanston is a distillery that's nearby there. They make some excellent product. This is their virgin oak release. So as we were talking about earlier, you've got the barrels, you've got, typically it's ex-bourbon, but in this case, they've done a barrel that has been strictly virgin oak. So it's just charred, and then they pour the spirit into it, and it will give you a really interesting character with the wood, because you'll get more of the influences from the natural oils that are all wrapped up into the staves. So, let's launch it. One of Douglas Lang's releases. So, the Timidus Beastie is actually a beautiful poem by Burns. And if anybody was in high school and they remember Of Mice and Men, that was the basis for it. The best laid plans of mice and men and gang have to agony. This was the phrase. So, Old Particular, they're another independent bottler. And they've taken the malt that has gone into the Timorous Beastie, which represents the Highlands, and they've actually aged it a little bit longer. So they've also got a little bit higher proof. You got about 48.4 on it. So, this is a representative of Burns' poem, Killer's Beastie, which I'm going to see, sorry, the speakers are not the best, but Billy Connolly, Sir Billy Connolly.
Cyril Conley.
Tommy got up in a nest with the plough, November 1785. We sleeked cooling Killer's Beastie over a panics in thy beastie. The neatest starter was he hasty with bicker and prattle. I would be left to rin and chase thee with murdering paddle. I'm truly sorry man's dominion has broken nature's social union and justifies that ill opinion which makes thee startle and me, thy poor earthborn companion and fellow mortal. I doubt not wilds, but thou may thieve. What then? Poor beastie, thou mun live. A day the nicker in the threads a small request. I'll get a blessing with a lave and never missed. Thy wee bit hussy too in ruin. Its silly wars the winds are strewn, and nothing new to big a new one the foggage came, and bleak December winds ensuing, both snell and keen. Thou saw the fields laid bare and waste, and weary winter coming fast, and cozy here beneath the blast, and thought to dwell, till crash, the cruel coulter passed out through thy cell. That wee bit heap of leaves and stibble has cost thee money a weary nibble. Now there's turned out for all thy trouble, but hoose and hauled to fold the winter's sleety dribble and cranach called. But Moosey, thou art no thy lane, and proven foresight may be vain. The best laid schemes of mice and men gang after clay, and layest nought but grief and pain for promised joy. Still, thou art blessed compared with me. The present only toucheth thee, but och, a backward cast my ear, prospects drear. And forward, though I can't see, I guess and fear.
The great Sir Billy Connolly. Not quite as good as me, but
Stayed on script.
Needed.
Yeah. Yeah.
how are you enjoying it so far?
Nice.
Good, I like this one.
What do you think, Brad?
When we have before, right?
What do you think of the nose?
Kind of oily.
There is a bit of like cooking oil
Yeah.
that I'm getting with this character.
I think you said like earlier, like grape skins. That's sort of.
Yeah, the Epicurean actually had a similar style to that.
Yeah.
Kind of syrupy.
Certainly.
It's nice.
He left Winnipeg 3 days ago. How can I do his backpack already?
Wait, did you want to be that guy?
I didn't want to be that. As soon as I get on the plane with that guy, I'm like, where is he sitting? Because I'm.
I love Lionel. Campbellton is magical because there's only 3 distilleries. One of them is actually tied into Chris's house during the summer for our summer sippers, which are all the rum cask finished themed spirits, except for the Arabic, but that was a bizarre barbecue. So this one is a Glen Scotia that is finished off in a PX cask. So it is very similar, PX sherry. So it should be a lot sweeter, a lot jammier. And I don't know, well, and that's where, I don't know if I'm desensitized to peat. Glen Scotia typically has a little bit of peat, maybe some minerality.
So it's like
It's, yeah, it's not gonna be terribly heavy.
you can't smell the pea on the nose though.
No, you taste it on.
You taste it. It's kind of like the cocktail we had. All I get the citrus before I finish.
Yes.
So that's
A little bit of peat there.
Yeah, a little bit, eh?
On
do
the
like
nose
that
or in the
though.
taste?
That's in the taste.
Oh, it
There's
is,
a,
eh?
there's a burn at the end of the nose, and maybe that's.
Could be.
A lot of brown sugar and burnt caramel and some sherry and dried fruit and forest floor. I like that.
It's so rich.
What's that?
It's so rich.
Oh yeah.
You know it. That, you know, the water is insane. Yeah, I tried it right away. So I went to
I totally do that one.
For all of the works that Burns produced, he was also a notorious philanthropist. So, but one of his loves was Mary Campbell, and he's got a couple poems dedicated to her. My Highland Lassio is one of them. Mary Campbell was originally born in, not Dunoon, but she was born near Campbellton, and her family moved there and spent a lot of time from that particular area. And she was an inspiration for many of Burns' works. And that was the inspiration for this selection of the Glen Scotia PX cask. Glen Scotia is one of those whiskeys that's in a very interesting area because around the late 1800s, Campbellton used to be the self-proclaimed whiskey town, whiskey city. It was the capital of whiskey in Scotland. Whether or not that was true, the fact is they had many distilleries. I believe the numbers were up around 30 distilleries within a small region.
They only had like 3 or 4.
Now they do, but back then they used to have roughly 30 or so, and unfortunately they suffered when the whiskey market collapsed at the end of the 19th century. What happened is, fast forward, to the end of the 1900s. So in other words, only like 20 or 30 years ago. And the Scotch Whisky Association says these are the regions of Scotland. You have your lowlands, which is Glenkinchie and Auchentoshan. You have the highlands, Glengarry, Loch Lomond. Those would be representative examples. Speyside, Islay. Mitchell owned Springbank Distillery, and he said, well, Campbellton should be its own region. And he said, no, you've only got 2 distilleries there, Springbank and Glen Scotia. If you wanted to be a region, you should have at least 3 working distilleries. So he went and he started up the Glengyle Distillery, which is now known, they released the Kilkerran bottles. They are literally down the block from Springbank. I understand a lot of the workers at Springbank will occasionally go over to Kilkerran. It's only in operation for a couple months of the year. But Campbellton is now its own whiskey distillery region. So it's got that representation if you're looking, and you're wondering, how does 3 distilleries qualify? Glen Scotia is one of the lightly peated varieties. If you've been to Springbank, Springbank itself has Hazelburn, which is triple distilled, and it's not peated, but I think the water probably has some peat minerality in it. But their Springbank official release and the Long Row is one of the heavily peated releases that they've got. But this one, Glen Scotia, how are people enjoying this so far? What do you think, Jeff?
Great.
It's great. Great. Is it magic? What do you have any?
I find it a little thin overall, but I really like the subtlety of the peat.
And you know what? Again, it's like you try it and then
I like to, and you know what? I think without fail, whenever we have a Glen Scotia here, I don't think I ever had one that's like.
yeah.
Rosie's English family?
Those are the 2 there.
Okay, I'm wine. So here, this is my wine.
They're from Schitt's Creek.
In fact, you do have the parcel of roads to the nation.
Yeah.
We can go through.
Hey,
Oh, that's
Joel,
okay, man.
do you have
It's all right.
a sample vial, or do we have any, Mike, do we have any skill testing?
I actually have one of the
Oh.
Robbie Burns,
Oh, yeah, that came from.
the poet who knew it. Called himself Robert. Robert of the Burns.
The plowman poet.
Alvin Poet. It does go back to his very salt of the earth and working man roots.
Yep, plowman life.
Yes, Robbie Burns, I don't believe was very rich during his lifetime. like a lot of artists and poets, most of his fame came after he had passed away.
It's hard to make money with art.
Yeah, well, unless you're Banksy.
Tale as old as time.
Or Taylor Swift, right?
It's true.
She's a good business person.
What was your favorite?
Number one.
Yeah. Rosile or maybe 7?
3, eh? 3 or 4. 3 or 4.
Okay. 7. All right.
Yeah.
So we've got kind of a balance between either the Glen Scotia or the Rosile. Now, if we're looking across the whole breadth, like all 8 of them, what's the top? Number 4? 4? Oh, we're still sticking with the Glen Scotia.
Yeah, Glen Scotia or Rosile. Yeah.
Oh, haven't changed it, Bill?
Yeah, I.
Need help there, buddy?
I wouldn't buy it.
4 or 7?
Yeah. Oh, Glen Scotia.
It's in mine.
You know what? I'm glad that everybody enjoyed. It was nice, you know, again, talking about Robbie Burns, doing a connection with his life and also with some of the poems and whatnot that he'd done, and getting people to try haggis and finding out it's not that bad.
Pretty good.
It's no bad.
I like the your whole production. Oh my gosh, that was really good. Will, that was really good.
There are a lot of people that do that. I've just sort of like watched them and then.
Never seen it before. It was
And
really well done.
Yeah, it can be quite a production,
Well, yeah, well,
as you saw.
yeah, it was good.
So, just to let everybody know, we do have the WhatsApp channel. If you're not part of that, give us a shout and we can add you to that. We are having a couple more events. Again, they will be at the standard final Wednesday of each month. Next month is a virtual, so we're going to do a celebration with a cask. We'd posted pictures, but we've got a nice little lineup there with some really interesting jams. For March, it'll be St. Paddy's Day, so an Irish celebration of whiskeys, and we're looking to do that again at the Irish Club. So if you like Guinness, you might want to consider joining us.
Last Wednesdays?
Last Wednesdays, yeah, that's the typical one. We are trying to do a good job in communicating with the WhatsApp channel. Unfortunately, stuff just kind of scrolls off the page, but we'll try to make sure that we make the announcements and stuff.
Are you gonna start posting that on Discord now?
Yeah, Discord is so much easier to track, right?
Yeah, we gotta get on Discord.
Yeah, we have
Discord's
talked about
good.
doing that so
WhatsApp.
that we can actually pin
Honestly.
for conversations and announcements.
Because no one's going to use Discord if we still have the WhatsApp.
We will be moving.
The liqueur, and they're either grape based or grain spirit based. So, like there's spirits, beer, wine, liqueurs, Amaro. So, Amaro is a category, but it's a bitter liqueur, and they're really old, ancient recipes from Europe. DJs always have the perfect color coded photograph.
That's what I do.
Jeez Louise.
Okay, we have to drink it out of the glass, and we have to use the coaster.
Lord. We are at Mike's place
It all has to
at
happen.
Whiskey Club
Like the very
night.
first thing, the very first ounce you pour, it's to be into that fucking glass.
And this is what Mike has brought out.
Bro.
Good Lord, man. Holy crap.
They do like this thing where they're like ELOOD and then S. I don't know how they do the S at the end. It's really difficult, but
What happened to Bill? Harmon?
Yeah.
my mind is blown.
Yeah, right?
Good Lord.
Well, boys.
That's dark.
That is dark.
It is.
Cheers, brothers.
Over here. I'm gonna get a shot of cheers.
Oh, yeah. Cheers.
Till old good man goes, be thanked, homies.
Be thank it.
Beef haggis?
Beef haggis.
Be thanked. Then horn for horn they stretch and strive. They'll take the hindmost one they drive. Till all their well-curd belts, till all their well-curd kites be live or bent like drums. An old good man is nice to arrive. Be thanked, hums.
Be thank it, fellow whiskey friends.
Like this is tar.
This is incredible. Holy crap, Mike. Thank
To
you.
Robbie Burns and to Will for his recitals of the poem.
Yes.
Sure.
Cheers.
Wow. Cheers.
Oh.
Wait.
Cheers.
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 Cheers. This other one.
Has it stretched the exchange district beyond
Maybe,
King's
just
Head
with the
and
heat.
like, you know, the
I
Palace?
get a sense of that here all of a sudden. Yeah.
Well, and
thought I
the
had
waterfront
less than
condos were already planned back in.
Vino, not the specific Vino Brut, but
Yeah.
Vino Brut was what hooked me on Cavalan.
Really, eh?
Dude, so many people talk about the Vigno Barrique. I have heard it referenced so many times.
And finally tonight.
Canada, it prides itself on being polite and everything. And Barbados, when I visited, so I got the timestamp in 2016 and 2014, they were like, no, we want to be polite. And you can tell because, or at least I've been told you can tell.
Yeah. We were married in Jamaica.
So it's an option. Any virtual tasting we can do that.
From this point on, Mike has all of the bottles for February.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and you have the vials.